rest. Cost of living gone up 100%, yet you give public servant less. Mr. President, listen to the people. Search your soul and you will confess. I want you try surviving on the public base, then you're gonna know but stress. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up. They don't drive no fear in the citizen. They may want the people speak out. Freedom of speech done gone inside the gutter. Knock off when you open your mouth. Discrimination in entertainment, and you're talking about one Guyana. When the Ministry of Culture keep the big shows, one set of girls and banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up. Every picture you take and promise you make, everything you do is about clouds. Then you come into me for I shake your hand, there's nothing to smile about. Corruption inside every sector, but when it comes to them they send you. Try investigate efficiency, right? Go talk to Barrett and Sue. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up.
There and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su? Oh, Su? My relationship?
Hawk 2.
Good night and welcome to Straight Up. My name is Mark Benschop, and we're the 107.1 family, right? Those who have been with us, stayed with us, still with us. And what we have, our operator Lemon is with us, but Lemon has been assigned to something else. He has another assignment, and the assignment that he has, because they have a whole bunch of little different kind of shows right now going on. So Lemon's job is to check those who are supposed to be over here on 107.1 FM, but they all over the place, scatter around. Those people, once they're watching another show when they know that they should be here from 9 o'clock right here on 107.1 FM, and they scatter all over the place, we have their names. We know who they are, and we will be suspending them for at least 2 days or 3 days. Find out where Francine Cruz is, if she's with us. If not, she will be banned for 1 week. And find out where Denise Booker and all the others are right now, and let them know that they're needed in class. Otherwise, there will be some penalties. Good night again. Wayne Caesar is with us. He is wrapping up, putting on makeup and all sort of things, putting on boxing gloves. I don't know, all sort of things. And so tell those folks, the regular folks over here, tell them to leave the corner shop and come over in the big store. Leave the corner shops and come over in the big store. It's a busy night all over. It's a busy night all over indeed. And it's always a pleasure to have you guys with us. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a camera now. The only person is with us here is Theodore. Yeah, he's not on right now. And so we're glad. Theodore Adams, Christopher Chichester, all of you, every single one of you. Good night and welcome to Straight Up. I don't know where to start. Edward Gonzalez, tell us. Rhonda Lane, tell us where to start right now. I don't know. Should we say a prayer? Should we pray for GCOM? Should we pray for the opposition? Well, forget about the opposition. I am not surprised at all. I am just not surprised at all. I don't know why you guys, did you guys know that it was a game being played? It's just a game. I don't know. I don't know. So Wayne Caesar is with us this evening. We might as well begin our program right here on 107.1 FM. Don't forget the corner shops. Tell people to leave the corner shop and come over in the big store, the big department store. Mr. Caesar, good night and welcome to Straight Up. How are you, sir?
I am doing well, Mark. Good evening to you and a pleasant good evening to all our listeners and viewers, aka freedom fighters. Good evening, guys.
Yep, thank you so much indeed. Wayne Caesar with us. Wayne was off last Saturday from his show. And so, Wayne said, look, you got to make up. And so when I decided that I'm coming on with him tonight, the ma vexed. I said, Mark, are you coming on with me tonight? I said, yes. Tonight is a nice night to be on. Wayne, what's happening? It seems as though the protest and the fight for justice in Linden just simmered down. What's going on there? Have you been looking into that?
Yeah, Mark, I have been keeping up with it, but I believe that they're allowing the investigations to proceed. And I guess the people of Linden has taken a pause and, they're going to be awaiting the outcome of the investigations by the RSS. But in the interim, I believe that the people of Linden are standing in solidarity with that family. With the two families, and they're continuing their push from a political perspective also. Linden is very, very active at the moment, and we need that. The people of Linden has shown quite some fight. I believe the fight in Guyana, the epicenter of the fight in Guyana lies in Linden. Yes, sir.
All right, I'm not sure. I'm not seeing any fight. It's been simmered down. The people gone back in, quiet down for the moment. There's the fire that's happening. The government has turned a blind eye, even though they have a helicopter just throwing a little drum or something and then go back. And too much of a fanfare and the people not getting the kind of justice that they so deserve. You did mention the RSS. 99% of people in Guyana do not have any confidence in the RSS. But I can tell you the RSS report is just going to be stink. Folks are not going to like it. Linders are going to be upset. It's just like the Henry Boys. It's just like they called in the RSS or whatever else, however else you want to spell it, for the Paper Shorts murder. Everything was just basically a set. It's a setup. It's a setup. The RSS in Linden is just another setup. The results. Should I just tell you guys what the results is? What the results are? Basically, it is what it is. That they cannot conclude. They cannot prove that the bullet from the gun is the bullet that actually killed that young man that came out of the minibus and he was shot and killed. And so that by itself, they're not able to prove that murder. Now, as it pertains to the murder of the other young man, the first guy that got killed, now that's a little bit ticklish. But what the RSS, and according to a source, you guys are definitely going to be shocked that the guy that got shot and killed, eyewitnesses saw that a policeman shot and killed that guy that came out of a minibus. Well, you know what's happening there, and that guy happens to be the one on the right of the screen. And you know what's happening there, right? So what's happening is the RSS seem to be on the side of the Guyana police force and on the side of the corrupt PPP regime to cover up the murder, So there's a Sean Henry, whoever he or she is saying you love to talk. Now I'm not sure who this Sean Henry is referring to. He or she. Sean is a girl too. So what is your take though on, according to my source, the RSS is about to cover up one murder, and that's the young man on the right that was shot and killed. What is your take? Are you surprised?
No, Mark, I am not surprised because that aligns with the bigger picture. I know sometimes, a lot of people hesitate to say certain things, but I'm going to say this. Just based on the words that Marco Rubio used when he came down to Guyana, I can see that a lot of international support is coming the PPP way. A lot of international investors, are pushing for the PPP, including a lot of lobbyists out there.
I wouldn't say that. Sorry about that. Not because they have individuals visiting Guyana, because Guyana is in crisis right now. We should not equate those visits as support for the PPP. They're just not support for the PPP. The Americans and others do have an interest, and whenever they visit, they basically visit as a result of that interest, and not necessarily a support for the PPP. The PPP would like to spread that sort of propaganda, but I beg to differ, though. But go ahead, sir.
Yeah, well, Mark, I think that we're going to disagree a little bit on that, because I believe that the words that was uttered by Marco Rubio to the Guyanese people, if they stay in line with this government, their life can truly change in another 5 to 10 years. It shows me where the favor lies, at least coming from Rubio, right?
Yeah, but that's the same Rubio that 5 minutes after leaving Guyana views and cuss Guyana, cuss up the roads and all manner of things. So it shows the hypocrisy. But again, go ahead.
And Mark, that's an excellent point. But to go along with that, he cussed up the road and everything because he thought that the opposition is the ones that would have built that road, not the PPP regime that he was giving credit and saying that if the Guyanese people stay in line with them, their lives could change in 5 to 10 years. We're going to see about that. We're going to get into that a little bit later, though. But look, the RSS is going to work along with the PPP. They've done it before. Why would they go against them now? Look what happened with the Henry boys. That wasn't just the murder of 3 young men. That was the murder of 5 people, because the 2 parents of those young men grieved to death, because of their deaths and because of lack of closure. So I do not see the RSS pivoting in a different direction. But I must say this, Mark, in credit to the people of Linden, because if they continue to protest through the RSS investigations, there's a chance that more people can be shot down. And the excuse that they're going to use is that the people of Linden, you understand me, they are thugs. They didn't allow the investigation to go on. Hence the reason we've taken these type of actions. So I believe it's good by the people of Linden for, at this point, to remain calm and see what will happen.
When you're fighting for justice, Mr. Caesar, sacrifices have to be made. And too often we hear these silly excuses that we got to relax because they may shoot more people down, and so we got to remain calm. And that's just the easy way out. In a struggle, there's something that's called no retreat, no surrender. Absolutely. And I believe in that. No retreat, no surrender. You cannot win the oppressors by saying more people might get shot and killed. Sacrifices have to be made. And that is what happens in a struggle. And oftentimes this sort of attitude, it dampens the spirit of the people who are willing and ready to stand up and fight for justice. That is what they want. You can't say, oh, if we go back out there, the police is going to do this, and the police is... In a struggle, those things are expected. That is how you get changes. Some will have to, unfortunately, whatever the outcome is. But we cannot be fighting for justice, expect changes, and then to say, oh, no, we can't do that. The police. No, I don't.
Something, and Mark, look, your point is well taken, but here is my perspective here. Okay. What it was last week or a week and a half ago, we had 4 young minority non-Indian men laying in the morgue dead. Well, 2 was executed by the state. The other 2 was executed trying to rob a Chinese store. Look, when I see young people laying in a morgue, look, it bothers me. It angers me. Okay? I'm trying to right now stay very, very calm. Okay? But I am very, very upset. I do not like the idea of people dying. If you're going to have a protest and you tell somebody when they go to that protest, they're going to die. All of us on this program. If you know, okay, if it can be preempted to you that you're going to die when you go to a protest, you will not go, Mark.
Wait.
You will not go. look,
one second.
here what
Wait.
it comes back to, Mark.
One
Mark, here
one
what it
second,
comes
sir.
back to.
1 second. 1 second. I've been in so many protests. I've been in so many struggles. I understand how to struggle and how to win and how to weaken an oppressed regime. You cannot weaken an oppressed regime by being afraid to die. You cannot weaken an oppressed regime by being afraid to be locked up. You cannot weaken an oppressive regime by being afraid to be shot with pellet bullets or whatever. You cannot weaken an oppressive regime if you're afraid of being dumped into prison. Changes come about because of sacrifices. In a struggle, sacrifices will have to be made. What we have happening in Guyana right now, and that's one of the reasons why we do not succeed over the oppressive regime, because too many compromises, too many unnecessary compromises in the first stages. We saw the compromises made for the Henry Boys, hence there is no justice. We saw the compromises made for or in Boston when they want people to come off the road. Nobody wants justice. All they want is peace. And when people are on the streets, ready and willing to bell the cat, there is always someone saying, man, y'all come off the road, man. Y'all gonna get little justice, come off the... Look, over the past 20 years, there have not been justice. People have been fighting, people have been crying, people have been locked up, people have been charged, all manner of things for fighting for justice. If we want results, we've got to be consistent. That is all I'm saying. Now, there might be some out there might say, oh, Mark is just, been there, done that. And so I understand that you do not just cough and pull back in, because the minute you cough and pull back in, your enemies are they're going to get stronger and stronger, and they're going to go after you again. This thing keeps happening over and over and over again. And we keep using the same methodology. We keep applying the same thing. Come out for 2 days and go back in. And it's done. And then we go to church and we pray and we say, hallelujah, Deacon Caesar. Oh, God is with us. Of course, God is with us. But we've got to fight. And Brother Wayne, I don't like this pullback spirit with you tonight. But continue, sir.
No, Mark, no, it's not.
I'm going to go take a sip of water. Make your point.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I am not pulling back here. What I'm trying to say is that we have to be strategic if we're going to protest. Now, if there's an ongoing investigation, how is the investigation going to happen if we're protesting? Right? We got to give them the space so that they can conduct the investigation. We wait for the results. The results is not, matching up. Then you know what? It's on again. And then look, whenever we protest, you guys don't notice that we always protest in sections. It's just the people of Linden is belling the cat. It's not the entire country. There needs to be a countrywide protest. That needs to be the strategy. If you're going to go ahead and protest, it's better you go ahead and lock everything down. Why protest in segments where the police can be concentrated on that particular segment? You understand me? Attacking and shooting live rounds at people. You shut the country down, then there's not enough police to cover everywhere. Okay? So it got to be one or the other. I don't believe in setting up people to fail. I don't believe in setting up people to lose their lives. I do not believe in that. Okay, we talk about prosperity in Guyana. Everybody needs to experience that. People don't need to experience prosperity in Guyana 6 feet down. Okay, let me further say this. The international community is seeing this and they are putting a blind eye to it. Why? Because it's Guyanese of African descent. That is going to be my position. It is Guyanese. This has never happened to anybody else. This only happens to African people, and nobody pays them any mind whatsoever. If the shoes was on the other feet, though, they probably would have had troops on the ground in Guyana. Look, man, it's not that I'm backing off. It's that if we're going to fight, we got to have soldiers to fight. We can't keep losing all the soldiers, right? It's like a game of chess. How much are you willing to give up? Okay? Well, I'm going to tell you guys this. I saw this guy, Neil Diamond Star, just put up Wayne sees you soft. You don't know me. You don't know me. Neil Diamond Star, you don't know me. Okay? You need to ask about me. You don't know me. All right? Don't tell me that I soft, man. Don't tell me that I soft. If you have to go out from there, brother.
That's
no, Mark. No, let me finish, Mark. Please allow me the latitude. Please allow me the latitude, man. Please allow me the latitude. No. Some of these guys, they come across with comments. No, you got, look, just how you love your life, you got to respect another's life. All right? That's how I look at life. Everybody deserves life. Okay? I don't feel good about those two young men getting executed by the government. I don't feel good about that. Nothing is being done, Mark. Nothing. Look, you got people like Jack Dio sitting on their press conference. They're not even discussing those two young men who's laying cold there. You know, they're not discussing it. Forget it. It's Africans. Their life is worth nothing. What you gonna do? Give the family $24 million like you trying to push down Quindam Bacchus on family. Mark, you cannot put a price on life.
1 second. We all understand that. We understand what I'm saying to you, that I've been through this hundreds of times. You cannot win in a struggle. You cannot beat the oppressors if you come out one day and you don't come out back for another 100 days. When you do that, you strengthen the oppressors, and they're able to do the same thing over and over again. It may not be every 100 days. It may be every year. The pattern of the PPP is consistent. And when we see these things happen, extrajudicial killings, if you do not take the bull by its horn and confront the oppressors in a way that will weaken them, they will feel emboldened. What has happened in Linden, I have been in the struggle for many years, and I see the pattern all over again. And that pattern, sir, is to come out for 48 hours, 72 hours, you protest, Irfan Ali goes to Linden, pretend that he loves the people, make all sorts of promises, and then the tongue gets quiet again. What you have said, and I'm just having a different opinion based on experience. What you have said, that because the RSS officers are conducting their investigations, the people should pull back and allow them to make or to conduct their investigations. Again, I do not believe that that is how a struggle should be. The two can go hand in hand. Let the protests continue. Let these people do their investigations. Mark my word here. When their investigations are over, or when this investigation is over, we are going to be back to square one. Because the RSS officers are going to see the calmness of Linden. They are going to take that for granted, and they are going to come out with the results that is going to upset the people of Linden. Now, when they come out with the results, the two young men will be buried on Sunday. When they come out with the results sometime next week, it is time for Big Bacchanal in Linden, which is called Linden Tongue Day. The corrupt government of the day is already using that as a way to calm the people down of Linden. Let a party, let a sport, and they will forget about every single thing. It is a diabolical plan. Let us not fall for that trap into believing that we should pull back and be calm. Some may say, Mark, you're far away. It's easier said than done. But I'm seeing the pattern all over again, Mr. Caesar. Now, I understand and I respect the fact, and I agree with you. You don't want to send your soldiers out in a battle and all of them die. But we cannot take that position all the time and expect results. We are going to get the same thing over and over again. Sacrifices will have to be made. Some will have to die. Some will have to go to jail. Some will have to be beaten. Some will have to be shot. Some will have to be tortured. Now, I'm not condoning all of those things, but whenever you're fighting an oppressive regime, those things cannot be avoided. But they cannot be used as an excuse not to confront an evil system. I've had my say, and I thank you for not interrupting. I will not interrupt. So I'll remove myself from the screen.
Look, again, I'm going to say this. And look, Mark made a point there. All right, I'll partially agree with that point. Look, I look, in Guyana, I am tired. I am sick and tired of seeing Guyanese of African descent being executed. I am tired. All right? It is not by chance. It is by design. It is designed that way, that must happen. These things are not by chance, man. Okay? Look what the PPP is doing to African communities in Guyana. Totally ravaging them. They have their reasons. They have their reasons. What's happening now with these young men that you guys see going into Chinese restaurants and these things, Chinese stores, and trying to rob and stuff? These young people were born, for the most part, under the PPP regime. The PPP regime, over the 23 years that they have been in power, have conditioned Guyanese. And yes, one of the conditions is a lack thereof of education. They have stymied the education process in Guyana. Okay? So it leaves Guyanese of African descent wanting. Okay?
Well, that is true. The youngsters who went in and allegedly did what they did in a Chinese store, it's a totally different situation than extrajudicial killings. We're talking about two young men who were brutally murdered by members of the Guyana police force. And as a result of that, the people are fighting for justice. We see the injustices meted out to particularly predominantly African Guyanese community. I am saying that this is the repeat of the same thing over and over. It seems as though every year or every 2 years, there's a repeat of the same thing. Mark, that is all I'm saying. I've noticed somebody saying they want to see Mark on the front line. I don't know who Peter Vincenti is, but I've been on the front line. I've been there, done that. I'm in semi-retirement now. And I'm saying that based on my experiences in a struggle, in protest, standing up against the corrupt PPP regime, I am seeing the same mistakes being made again. That is why I'm saying I am not optimistic that the people of Linden will get justice. I am just not optimistic. The people for Quindon Bacchus didn't get justice. The people for Orrin Boston didn't get justice. And scores of other people didn't get justice. In 2012, when the people of Linden shut the mining tongue down, they had the government where the government needed to be, on its knees. That is because of consistency. That is because of courage. That is because of the strength that they had to stand up against a corrupt PPP regime. And Lindeners did that. Once you are consistent in a struggle and you're not going to listen to the whispers of some of them who believe in just, oh, we've got to be peaceful. Nobody's saying that anybody should be violent.
But Mark, when you talk about consistent, okay, do you mean consistent only with the people of Linden? Because it's the people of Linden that's belling the cat. Nobody else. Guyana is 83,000 square miles. There are 10 administrative regions across Guyana. Look, I further say this, Mark.
One second. When your own brother Gavin said, no, Mark, they wouldn't get justice. We have to fight for our rights. Thank you so much, brother Gavin. I understand your passion. You don't want lives to be lost. You don't want lives to be lost. You don't want lives to be lost. And I agree with you. None of us want lives to be lost. But in a struggle, it is expected Look at what African ancestors for 400 years, if they were thinking about, oh, somebody will die. And then when we die, who is going to enjoy? Sometimes you have to die in order for betterment to come for the next generation. You have to be prepared. Soldiers are ready to die in a struggle. They are ready to be jailed in a struggle. Real leaders do that.
Mark, I understand. Look, I'm not saying that you don't have to be prepared to die, okay? Because I'm a very, very brave individual. I'm not scared of anybody or anything, okay? But the Almighty up there. But when you say prepare to die, no, you know, we talk about the people continuing the protest. I want to ask the question, where is the leadership? Should there not be leadership? If you have leaders out there protesting with these people, it's less than likely that the police will be shooting at these people with live rounds. Guys, help me here. Help me here. That's why I said there must be a strategy behind protesting. You just can't send out your constituency to just get shoot down like that and you sit up in your AC office, right? Come on. Look, I am here. When I come on these programs, I'm here to represent the Guyanese people, okay? The Guyanese people. I don't want anything happening to them. I don't want it, okay? That's going to always be my position, no matter what. I will never pivot away from that, all right? Look, when you look on the side, guys, tell me when last you seen any Guyanese of East Indian descent got executed by the police. Tell me, help me, please, please. It's a strategy. It has to stop. We have to stop it. And look,
so my question to you.
No, Mark, stopping it does not take the people of Region 10 only.
My question to you, fair enough, but my question to you, sir, you just said that it has to stop. These sort of brutalities have to stop. How will it stop?
But Mark,
how do you propose? Give 2 points as to how it would stop. We all want it to stop. How?
Look, Mark, we know that protests have a history of moving mountains. We know this. Okay, there's no question about that. But also when we talk of protests, we have to talk of a strategy. What is our strategy? To just have our brothers in Region 10, Linden, alone, pushing their chest up and trying to fight this installed dictatorship? No, man. Where are the people of New Amsterdam? Where are the people of Georgetown? Where are the people?
History books would prove. History books would prove that sometimes and most times the most effective protest in toppling a corrupt and oppressive regime are spontaneous protests. Or continue.
No, Mark, I am agreeing with you because look, unlike me, you've been there, done that. You've done it in Guyana when Guyana was locked down. There was no proper social media out there and your life was totally at risk. Your life was totally at risk and you did it.
Well, there are others who did it and paid the prices as well. But my question to you, sir, you said, give two examples how it could be, this thing could come to an end. 2 examples.
All right, Mark, having consistent protests. I agree with that. Consistent, strategic, okay, robust protests. Okay, I believe that, and along with a pivot by the Guyanese people have got to change their attitudes towards this government. All right. Look, we have 2 young men that were executed in Linden. And I know you said they have the Linden Day celebrations and all of these type of things that are coming up. Look, there should be some measure of focus on those 2 young men during that celebration. And I don't believe in the Linden people dialing up and dancing up and going out of the PPP. All right, because those are the same. No, Mark.
My questions. Give 2 examples.
I just give you one. And then, like I said, the attitude of the Guyanese people has got to change.
What's
right?
the
It
strategy?
cannot
What's the strategy?
Well, like I said, the strategy is if you're going to protest, okay, you have to be consistent. And like I said, the people should not be going out there and sacrificing themselves when they are paid politicians there. Okay? The leaders need to be out there with the people. Asking the people to go out there on their own is putting their lives at risk. Okay? Because the police can then use any excuse as to why they shoot these people down. But Mark, don't you think that if the leaders are out there with those people, it is going to mitigate the chances of them being harmed by the police? I believe so.
I don't believe so. Again, I've been in protest. I've seen the chairman. I've seen other folks of the PNC that were beaten, that were dragged and put in the Brigham lockups and so forth. Robert Corbin. And at that time, there was a guy named, his name will come to mind just now, but there were others. And so not necessarily when they see leaders there that they would stop. During the time when Bond and you had a former chief of staff of the Army, the Guyana Defense Force, Brigadier Collins, and others were shot with pellet bullets. I'm telling you, Wayne, according to experience, according to what history has shown, oppressive regimes do not have respect for leaders in the opposition. And I've just given you some examples. Maybe you can check up when Robert Corbin had his and another guy who was part of the reform by the name of Jerome Khan. Robert Corbin was allegedly beaten with baton, and his arm was in a cast for about an entire month. And so I'm saying to you that oppressive regimes do not give a damn whether you're a leader or you're not. They are going to go after you. And they will go after you when they see that you're weak. But when they see strength, they're afraid. When they see strength, they want to negotiate. When they see strength, they want to talk. We have seen that in 2012, 2011, 12 in Linden. The PVP regime at that time was on its knees. They wanted to negotiate. They wanted to talk. I'll take a glass of water. I'll be right back. Go ahead.
All right, Mark. Let's go back a little bit in history here, guys. And you remember when the Henry boys, the two Henry boys, I don't even like to put it as murder. I believe that they were sacrificed. Yes, it's equal to murder. They were sacrificed in the most horrible way. And you guys remember when that protest was going on? Can you guys remember a member of parliament going up there to calm the people down? Okay, to calm the people down. Look, I am of a very strong belief that if the Guyanese people step up and decide that they want to shut Guyana down, that they're sick and tired, they want change, I believe that they can be left out in the street on their own with no leadership there. All right? Because while I agree with Mark talking and speaking of consistent protests, where is the consistent visitation by the leaders, all right, into Linden, knowing that the people want to protest? Where is that visitation? You're going to just leave the people? Then why do you have member of parliament who is serving you, right? They're supposed to be there for you in this time of need. And I must say, kudos to the mayor and deputy mayor of Linden. Kudos to them. I was watching the whole situation played out, and I thought that the mayor, Sharma Solomon, was excellent. Okay? He handled that very, very well. I'm very proud of him. I could say more, but I'm not going to say it on your program. I'm going to wait until it's mine. I want to say, Art, let me say it. No, let me say it, Mark. Let me say it. Let me say it. The way Sharma Solomon carried himself during that entire ordeal was very presidential. I'm going to say it. I rest my case.
Thank you, sir. You didn't have to wait on your program to say it. You could say it now. Your program is until Saturday. But Mr. Caesar, we understand we all want the change. We want betterment for all Guyanese. And the other strategy is to vote the PPP out of office. My heart goes out to the people of Guyana, and more so the people of Linden right now. I don't think that they're getting the kind of justice that they deserve. It is unfair that at this time the government has turned its back on the people of Linden. And so the only reason Irfan Ali went up there was to pacify the situation, to probably bribe whoever it is, and this is not being insensitive or disrespectful to the people, the parents of the young men. But the only reason that Irfan went there was to calm them down, make a bunch of promises. We saw it again with those 20 young students that were killed in that fire out in Madhya. All of the ministers, all of them rushed up there. There were one minister per family. And to this day, the family cannot get justice. They dragged those who were injured out of the hospital just for a photo op with those beautiful young kids. This is an evil PPP regime. It's a heartless government. They do not believe in justice. All they want is to quiet the situation down for the moment while something else pops its head up. What is going to happen in Linden, and you will see it in a matter of a few days, they will conclude that the second young man that was shot and killed, that they have no evidence because the bullet, the shell, is so damaged that they cannot do a proper investigation to conclude that it was the bullet from the cop that shot and killed that guy. I'm saying to you, mark my word, the people of Linden will stand up and protest again when that result comes out. And then what it is, they're quiet now, and then they're waiting for that to come back out again. I'm not sure. I hope I'm making my point for Lucid tonight. The RSS report is already cooked up, guys. It is cooked up in favor of the police, and you will hear what happens. Now, the second thing is, as we move on, and we're looking at the time.
No, Mark, before you move on.
So
before you move on, the RSS investigation is going to go in favor of the police. So what you're saying to me is that police that got out of that minibus and came around that corner and executed that young man, he gets to walk.
Yeah.
And he gets to continue working.
Now,
well, I'm going to say this.
No, wait, please. 1 second, please. The results of that particular shooting is that the shell of that bullet, that the shell from that bullet is so damaged, so destroyed, that they cannot arrive at a decision, which is to conclude that the bullet actually came from the cop's gun. That is the result.
So
in a matter of days, you guys, the public will get to hear the results. I'm telling you that that's the result.
So, Mark, can I ask a question? Because if you say that the shell of the bullet is so damaged, it's going to be inconclusive.
No, I'm not saying that. The RSS is saying that.
It's going to say that, right? It is inconclusive to tell whether it came from that gun. So, what are we saying? That the young man had a gun and turned it on himself, or the cop was wrestling another gun from the young man that would have went off? Where are we going? Because
what basically they're saying is that they do not know where the bullet came from, and it is difficult for them to say that the bullet came from the gun of that policeman. However, they are going to have to take into consideration eyewitnesses, and they are ignoring the eyewitnesses' report on what transpired, and they're sticking to that shell, that damaged shell, that casing from that gun. That's the result. It's already been cooked up.
Okay. Well, I got something for Guyanese parents, and this is not for all Guyanese parents, but you could continue not speaking to your kids. Some of you who wants to go and vote for the PPP, go out and vote for the PPP. But I'm telling you, you see what transpired in Linden? Okay, it's gonna continue happening. All right, a lot of you, if you don't be careful, your kids are not gonna have the opportunity to bury you. You will be burying them.
No,
Mark. We all know what the PPP is capable of. Okay, like you said,
We are aware of
It's
that.
not anything new. We know what they are capable of doing. All right. We got to figure out a way to stop it. But Mark, I want to pivot a little bit because we still have an impasse going on, and I would love for you to discuss that before we get off tonight.
And so Everett Leonard is saying, and Everett, you'll choke on these words, my friend. Everett Leonard is saying that why the people are, and then he paused there and then say, where do you get the nonsense from, Mark? Now, Everett is my good friend. I know he doesn't mean any harm with that question. And if Everett is saying that it is nonsense, in a matter of days, you will see that it is not nonsense. That according to the RSS report, which their findings is that the second young man that was shot and killed, they don't know where the bullet came from, because the shell of that, the casing of that bullet that the bullet came out from is so damaged that they cannot arrive at a conclusion in pointing finger that the cop, that officer actually killed that guy, that the bullet came from that policeman's gun. That is the RSS report. I am telling you guys that is the RSS report. Everett, do you guys know me to come and spread propaganda? That is the RSS report. Story done. Now, let's move on, Wayne. We still have just a few minutes remaining. What is your take? Because before we get to your take, I'm not surprised. I knew that the AFC was just buying time. I've said it right here. They're buying time. They're not concerned about a coalition. Them and want no coalition. They were just playing games all along. And so said, so done. What's your take, Wayne?
Well, Mark, my take is that I'm extremely gutted. Okay, I'm disappointed. The Guyanese people has been waiting since last year or after the 2 biannual congresses, and to know that this has played out all the way, it's almost a year. We get back to June just now, it's going to be a year. And, there's no coalition in place. There's nothing, there's no campaigning going on behalf of the opposition. There's little things going on. They're visiting this village and visiting that village. There's not a combined vision out there as yet. The PPP is planning to call elections soon, right? You have Barry Jagdeo on his press conference, basically talking down the coalition that he knew. Just like how Mark just said, he knew. Barry Jagdeo said, I knew also that they would not be able to come together. He said they are putting their eggs in the basket before it hatched. They're already talking about positions and arguing about positions. Listen, guys, this whole negotiation, it was shameful. Okay, it was shameful. You could see, okay, that the thought of the people, especially from one particular side, they weren't thinking people. Okay, they were thinking power. All right. There are some people that their egos are so big that they can look at another person and say, well, look, I am never going to serve in a government under this person because I believe that I'm better than this person. That does not make you president or make you the top candidate for president. You have to bring more substance to the table. Okay? You have to be able to bring substance if you want to come with those strong negotiating points. You want the presidency. You want the leader of the list. I'm sure you're going to want a part of the finance ministry, or you're going to want the finance. That requires you to come with a whole lot. How many votes are you bringing to the table? Okay? You just can't come and negotiate with nothing. But you want everything. So, look, while I know a lot of people in the AFC, Comrade Hughes, of course, Comrade Patterson, and many of them in the AFC. But they risked that party really losing out because people are angry. And the angle so far is showing, and based on what the leader of the opposition said on Gordon Mosley's news program, is that the AFC stepped away from the table. How can you look when you step away from the table? Are you thinking about the Guyanese people? That's all I want to know. That is all I want to know, because that's what I'm here for. The Guyanese people. Are you thinking about them? You can't be. You can't be, because this that you guys are trying to negotiate now needed to happen since last year. Okay? The people have allowed you the latitude of time to get this done, and you have failed them miserably. Hence, Barry Jagdeo could come and talk about the garbage that he spoke about today. Okay? And further said, right, that you guys, the PNC, sit there in power for 28 years and rig elections. Imagine this guy is given the latitude to speak these things, and there's no comeback. Comrade Hughes, Comrade Patterson, and the rest of the AFC, you all need to get back to the table. And you all need to get back there quick. Okay? Look, if you guys want my opinion, I'll give you guys my opinion. I believe that a 70-30 deal is quite fair. It's quite fair. And the APNU might be overcompensating to the AFC right there. All right? They may be overcompensating to the AFC right there. You're getting more seats than you probably would win on your own, and time is going to tell, because you plan to run on your own. So we're going to see fair and square how many seats the AFC can garner on its own. Okay? We're going to see. And listen, people say the AFC might merge up with businessmen and all these kind of things. Look, it doesn't matter who you merge up with. Everybody got to come on board with clean records. If your record ain't clean, I'm going to call your name. If your record is not clean, your name has to call. If your record is not clean, you cannot be a leader of people. How can you? How can you? Right? So once everybody's record is clean, and again, guys, I know you guys have heard me said this on programs before. I do not believe that members that are sitting in parliament should be allowed to own and conduct business. It can go as far as you having another job. Like, for example, MP Jermaine Figueroa is a teacher. I am fine with that. But when it comes down to parliament and the work of the people, he needs to have a substitute in place for him, okay? Because that supersedes any work that he has as a teacher. Okay? You're dealing with a country, holistic. We're dealing with a country here. All right? He needs to have a potent substitute who can take care of his classroom. That in all to say that there's a lot of people that are currently sitting in government, all right, that has business, that has day-to-day activities in those businesses. And Mr. Benschop, I don't know if you would have heard, okay, member of minority house leader Hakeem Jeffries just came out and spoke about the fact that they're going to be pushing for a law, okay, to stop any sitting member of the Congress to be able to buy stocks and do stocks, because it is a conflict of interest. I always knew that. I've always called for that. And let me tell you this, Mr. Benschop, that is something that none of the two sides in Guyana would not want. They don't want to work for a bare salary. Nobody wants to work for a bare salary these days. Okay, we need bona fide politicians. All right, the people of Guyana need to vet their people and look for proper politicians. That is the problem. You have a set of recycled people back and forth, and the country is not progressing. It is not, because you're using it's the same ideas, you know, it's the same thing over and over and over again. Failure. Barry Jagdeo would have said that the PNC failed for 28 years. Mr. Benschop, you was on the ground a lot in Guyana under Barry Jagdeo's 23 years. Can you tell me what he has accomplished? Fiber optic cable failure. One computer per home, failure. Barbies River Bridge, too expensive. You have to call that a failure. Okay? NIS and all those things, he's devastated those things. And he is talking about the PNC being a failure for 28 years and rigging elections. What Barry Jack do you think he was doing for the 23 years that he was sitting there? And the coalition better get going, because you know what this is starting to look like? This is starting to look like the way the opposition was when the PPP sat there for 23 years. Okay? We have to get going. All right? We have to get, something has got to be done. All right? A deal has got to be struck. All right? We got to be on the ground campaigning. Come on. The PPP is out there in full force. Where is the opposition? You are failing the Guyanese people. Trust me. You guys don't know how much you're hurting the people. They are hurt. That's why they go and they support other people. That's why they run into other people, because you guys are failing them. Mark, I hand it over to you for a minute. I still have more to say. Go right ahead.
Well, we're looking at the time and we really have to go, though. I think the people they have gotten the point. More needs to be done. And my take, and briefly, I don't want to work up my energy, but it's just my view all along that the AFC was just not serious about coalescing with the PNC or APNU, whatever. So it's not a surprise. It's just not a surprise. It's not going to get better. I'm seeing the writings on the wall. It's not going to get better. They are going to frustrate the opposition, members of the opposition, 218 plus thousand people, and even the thousands of people that are fed up of the PPP. It appears to be that it's a plan to frustrate members of the opposition, to frustrate them to a point of thinking that they're so weak that they can't do it, when in fact it may not be the case, because the PPP is very weak. This is the weakest. This is the weakest that they have been. This is the weakest that they have been, right? And so as a result of that, guys, my executive producer, as a result of that, we keep saying that the opposition is weak, the opposition is weak, the opposition is weak, when in fact the government is in a mess. The PPP is in a mess. The PPP is weak. The opposition is strong. But because they're not getting their act together, the appearance of them being weak is what it is. But in my opinion, the opposition is way stronger than the corrupt PPP regime. The only problem is, Mr. Caesar, they've just got to get their darn act together. And it is my view that the AFC is not prepared to get its act together. The AFC wants an approach, just as they did in 2011. They believe that they can weaken the PPP regime, and they have come to the point of possibly accepting that the PPP may become a minority government. And once they believe that the PPP, the PPP is a minority government, the AFC feels that it can hold the power, the key to that power in Parliament. And so whilst Desiree Simons is saying that we are sending mixed messages, we are talk show hosts. It's the opposition on the ground who have to send a message to their support base, not me. That's not my job, mind you. It's them who are getting paid to do that. The opposition leader and all of them, and all of the MPs, they're the ones who have to send that message that is consistent. My message don't necessarily, I'm offering my opinion. I'm not the politician here. I'm not the political leader here. I'm the talk show host. But having said that, before we get to your closing remarks, because we have to, there's this point that I want folks to listen and understand the hypocrisy and the silliness of the PPP regime. They're getting caught all the time. Take a listen to this, Wayne, and tell me what's wrong here.
Jack Deere, the first man, legalized phone at every home in Linden. You used to go on the road for cars with family and go buy a big bike because you the PNC, you got a phone by your house, people can run by you to make car everybody hear your business. When the big man over to going on, big man said, yo, phone at every house. Here, so this road, this back road into this, you build this road. Barrett Jack Deere, the man, Barrett Jack Deere himself construct this one, not them, man.
So you hear that guy. He said that the PPP flooded the houses in Guyana with phone. That there were times when people used to have to go at other people's house and there weren't phones, and that it was the. What do you pick up from that propaganda, Mr. Caesar?
Well, first of all, Mark, I wasn't listening too much to what that man has to say there because he's a paid messenger. Okay, so that's a paid advertisement there for the PPP. But there are many houses in Guyana that had phones before Barrett Jack Deere. Not all the houses, but you could say the same for countries like the United States also. Not every house had a phone at that time either. You understand me? So I don't understand the point. Guyana was a developing nation, obviously. So it would take time for every household to get a phone. Shouldn't every household have a computer right now in Guyana? Is that what's happening? Does every household have a computer? Does every child have a cell phone? So, Mark, look, the PPP and their propaganda and their propagandists, they got to take that in a corner.
Here is one thing for that propaganda that's being spread, and I just want our listeners to know that guy, whatever he got, a puri, a box of cocoa, or a cup of dal, it's not working. This is the fact. In 1991, and you guys can see it, and those of you who are old enough to remember, the facts are what they are, and no amount of propaganda the PPP can spread about development under the PNC government. In 1991, GT&T, which is the Guyana Telephone and Telegraph Company, was formed, and that was under President U. Desmond Hoyt. Was formed in 1991 after the government of Guyana sold 80% of telecommunications infrastructure to the Atlantic Tele Network, ATN. ATN purchased 80% of issued shared capital, and the Guyana government got 20%. At that point in time, GT&T ran cables almost, not the entire country, but we have never seen the amount of phones and phone lines in people's homes as we saw in 1991, between 1991 and 1992, while Desmond Hoyt was still the president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. And so even with their propaganda, they cannot get it right, Mr. Caesar. They just can't get it right. What do you have to do in your, as we quickly wrap up, your closing remarks, please, sir?
Yes, sure, Mark. I want to say one thing. Okay, like I said, I don't have any party affiliation, but I must say one thing, is that the leader of the opposition, Aubrey C. Norton, he has been there since he has taken over for Joseph Harmon. Okay, he wasn't selected as the leader. He was duly elected by the party in a landslide. Okay, his party is the largest party by far, let me emphasize that, in this coalition that they're trying to put together. All right. I believe, Mr. Benschop, that Mr. Norton was undermined in many, many ways. All right. Look, when you have a leader, you have to give that person an opportunity, you understand me, to lead. Yes, there's the issue of protest and stuff like that. I don't agree with his stance on protest. I didn't agree earlier, but it was allowed for Melissa Atwell twice. The people of Linden, he never came in and said, oh, they can't protest. All right. But look, we have to look at this thing objectively here. Aubrey Norton has never been the president of Guyana. He's not responsible for 53% of Guyanese living in poverty. He's not responsible for a matriculation rate of 25% in an oil-rich country. All right. He's not responsible for so many Guyanese online waiting for housing. Actually, he has solutions that he's put together with his party. You understand me? For a lot of these issues that I would have just mentioned. All right. So I believe that he needs to be allowed that latitude. All right. To lead and lead from the front. Look. Everyone is not perfect here. I am not perfect, Mark. You are not perfect. But we all deserve an opportunity, right? Should Mr. Norton be a little more vibrant and a little more forceful? Yes, but sometimes, you got to get the people around him that's going to make him that way. Advice is also very, very critical. Who is around you advising you? It's critical. I'm not saying that he have horrible advisors, but I'm saying you have to get somewhat aggressive to deal with this dictatorship. Look, you're not dealing with a normal evil here, man. All right? You are dealing with the PPPC, and they are extremely evil. All right? So you got to be serious in belling the cat here. All right? I would say that, look, Nigel Hughes, with all honesty, he just showed up, Mark, last year, May, June, to win, the leadership of the AFC. And I'm not beating him down here. But come on, let's go with the facts here. What are you bringing to the table to be the presidential candidate? What are you bringing? These talks should have been public so that we can see it. Because there's nothing that the AFC is bringing to the table that's significant. If they can show me surveys that says, okay, the AFC is in line to win 10 seats or they're in line to win 15 seats, then okay. All right. We're going to go to the table and we're going to ask for 40%, but you can't ask for 40%, Mark, when there's an opportunity that you don't even solidly win 5 seats. I'm just being honest here. Because what the AFC is continuing to do, Mr. Benschop, is shoot themselves in the foot. That party is a possibility that party would cease to exist. Just their members they would have. Because of how upset the Guyanese people are. All right. The narrative that is out there right now, Mr. Benschop. Remember, Mr. Norton said at the end of the thing, look, I want to collate. But just not 60-40, Mark, and you can't disagree with him. He's bringing so much. He's bringing so much to the table. All right. And he's giving the prime ministerial position to the AFC. Mark, what about those other parties? What if one of those other parties strike big and win a seat, or two of those parties win one seat, Mark? Is the AP, and you got to give those seats to those people? So how could Aubrey just go ahead, the leader of the opposition, and just give away 40% just like that? All right. It's not fair. This coalition needs to be formed. Barry Jagdeo is at work, Mr. Benschop. He is putting his narrative out there. He is planting his seeds out there. The Guyanese people, open your eyes. Do not be deceived. Don't worry with all these house lots that are being given out. Why couldn't of these house lots be given out in 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024? Why are they now being given to you? Why is it that you're now getting reintroduced to free education? What about that being reintroduced in 2020 or 2021? Come on, guys. We shouldn't have to teach you guys this. The PPPC is all about deception. They are all about deception. Don't worry with what comes from the mouth of Barry Jagdeo. He has had you guys under his thumb for 23 years. What have he achieved? And I can promise you guys, in the next 10 years, nothing will change for you if you're under this dictatorship regime. Nothing. Join me on Saturday. There's a lot more for me to talk about. A whole lot more. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Appreciate it. Appreciate your opinions on those matters. And I have nothing further to add on the situation. I think you guys can read between the lines, and those guys need to get their act together or can't eat their dinners. Thank you so much. Enough. A lot have been said tonight on the front of protest and the lack thereof, and the fact that things have quieted down when, in my opinion, it should not have. And you guys will see and understand exactly. I'm just getting tired of those guys and their anta-banta politics, so to speak. The people lose out. The people on all sides lose out. And, people are playing games with you guys. You guys are seeing now the evidence of who is playing games, who is not strong enough, who is weak. You guys are seeing it. It's all playing out live for you guys to see. I'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time. Mr. Caesar, thank you so much for your time. To all of our listeners, thank you all so much as well. Wayne is reminding you guys that he's on this Saturday. He has a lot to say. He has a lot to talk. And I can just imagine the energy next Saturday or this coming Saturday. Thank you so much, Wayne. I hope your mom is feeling better. Is she?
Much better. I want to thank our listeners and our viewers for all the well wishes for my mom. She went back home today. So that's great. Love you guys. Love all the well wishes. Okay. Thank you guys again very much. Mark, thank you so much, Mark, for having me.
Thank you. Yep. Wayne, Caesar there for you guys, and he will be on over to you. Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it. And again, let me just remind you guys that this is it, right? This guy, something is wrong with these guys. Listen to this propaganda.
Jack David first man legalized phone at every home in them. Used to go on the road for cars with one laptop and go by a big bike because you the PNC, you got a phone by your house. People can run by you to the car and hear your business. When the big man over to going on, big man say, yo, phone at every house. Here,
so this road, this back road into this, you build this road.
Barra Jack, the other man, Barra Jack himself for this one. Not them, man.
These guys are crazy. Imagine one box of cook-up. One box of cook-up and I don't know. One box of cook-up. Propaganda galore. But, I'll take the time off for my closing remarks. And you guys want to hear my closing remarks, right? This is my closing remarks. Read between the lines. God bless you all. So long.
I can't take it no more. I can't take it no more. Can't take it no more. Imagine 18 hours of blackout and you're telling people progress. Cost of living gone up 100%. Get your give public servant bless. Mr. President, listen to the people. Search your soul and you will confess. I want you try surviving on the public base. Then you're gonna know but stress. Cause I done fed up. You done fed up. He done fed up. She done fed up. We done fed up. The people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup. Look how evil set up. The people fed up. They don't drive no fear in the citizen. They may want the people speak out. Freedom of speech done gone inside the gutter. Knock off when you open your mouth. Discrimination in entertainment. And you're talking about one Guyana. When the Ministry of Culture keep the big shows. One set of girls and banner. Cause I done fed up. You done fed up. He done fed up. She done fed up. We done fed up. The people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup. Look how evil set up. The people fed up. Every picture you take and promise you make, everything you do is about clout. Then you come into me for I shake your hand, there's nothing to smile about. Corruption inside every sector, but when it comes to them they send you. Try investigate efficiency, right? Go talk to Barrett and Sue, cause I done fed up. You done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up. I done fed up on the dirty water load. Pressure want scream and tell somebody. Imagine 1500 US and they're telling me super salary. I done fed up on the unemployment racism and the lie they say one Guyana. Cause when you look with the oil money going, circulate with one set of banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up, you're hiding
there and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su? Oh, Su.
You said valid votes counts,
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my X next to the cup, and what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.